Oh, hello everyone. Welcome on Facebook Live. Welcome to Agree or Disagree the podcast. Matt is with me here as we are recapping. I think that this is safe to say. We're saying this. This is the worst Flame performance in a playoff game since Game 7, 2006. Even
it's debatable.
Yeah, that was... that was probably better than this. The Flames got outshot tonight, 56-28. It felt like an Avalanche practice. Where do you want to start? Where do we begin here?
Well, obviously, this is a team that I think thought too highly of themselves, much like the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they just coasted. You can see, in the last 2 months of the season, the Flames, the first line just has not been there at all, and ever since the All-Star break, and they haven't resumed any sort of cohesion or flow at all since February. And you have a team that just doesn't seem to have any emotional drive at all in this game. And you have another team that's not nearly as good as we are, but they're trying. And that's the difference.
So, I want to start with Sean Monahan. I want to start there. Because I am not convinced this guy is a number one center. And actually, the stats were actually, if I looked at the stats, he wasn't the biggest problem of the line. But he has not. I don't remember Sean Monahan being in the fabric of a game. I don't remember. There's rarely a moment that I've seen Sean Monahan turn a game around the way that Nathan McKinnon did tonight.
Oh yeah, well, that's just not the same type of player. If you look at Monahan to compare him to a player from another team, back 10 years ago, he reminds me a lot of Patrick Marleau when he was with the San Jose Sharks, where he's there, he'll score 30, 40 goals, and awesome, but he doesn't have another gear at all, and he's just consistently there. He'll chip in occasionally, but if you're asking him to lead you anywhere, I don't think that that's just in him at all. And, he won't deliver you a game by himself. And honestly, at this point, I even think Marleau was a better player than Monahan is now. And I'd be frankly shocked with how Monahan's played the last couple months if he isn't going to be announcing, after the season, I have to undergo surgery again, like he did last year. Because he just does not look like the same player at all, even from earlier this season. And his shots don't seem to have the same both strength and accuracy.
Yeah, there was we'll go through the summary here shortly, but even when it was 4-1, Gaudreau sets up Monahan again, and he hesitated before the shot, and and then all of a sudden Rantanen scores, making it 5-1. But he had a couple of opportunities, but it's just there's these one-timer shots. It's not Giddy. I'm not saying he has to be he has to be Matthew Tkachuk, but he's not taking control of the game.
No, and I honestly don't know if he has that in him at all. Because when's the last time that you can recall Monahan just being awesome in a game?
I can't.
I can't either. In his entire career, I don't recall a single game where he was just all that and then some and a complete game breaker.
Yeah.
To me, he seems more of a higher level version of Damon Lanko, where he's there, and he'll do his job, but he's just there.
Yeah. Johnny, for the most part, -3 tonight. Let's look at these stats. -3, 2 shots on goal, 1 hit. 20 minutes of ice time, 20. But there's in the third period there was one play that Tyson Jost just walked past this guy as if Tyson was just going past him on the street. I feel like game one we talked about how Nathan McKinnon was frustrated. I think Johnny Gaudreau is not expressing that frustration, which is a good thing. But at the same time, you can clearly see that this guy is frustrated.
Yeah, and he just needs a shot or a pass to work that results in a goal.
Yeah.
And he hasn't had that in the 3 games. Like, yeah, the one assist he had in the Colorado game, second one, on the Monahan goal, that wasn't really, that was more of a shot that got shot and then shot again.
Yeah.
And he hasn't looked himself either. And, like, he tries to do, like, I find when he's frustrated, he does a lot of low percentage plays that tend to not work, and then that screws him up even more. And it's a never-ending cycle of frustration because he's just trying too hard instead of doing the simpler plays and, getting back to basics. And you can kind of see that from the whole team where they're not even doing the basics right. And if they were just playing good fundamental hockey, I think it's 2-1 in the series now for us at a minimum.
Yeah.
But they're just not doing any of the fundamentals. They're playing scared, tentative hockey. And it's like they're completely overwhelmed by Colorado because, the other team can actually play hockey. We weren't expecting this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, grow up. You're in the playoffs. Like, to their credit, Sam Bennett and Matthew Tkachuk showed up. And I thought were very good at Tkachuk less so, but Bennett was notably good. But the rest of the team was a steaming pile of...
except Mike Smith. I mean, I know that there's 6 goals, but this guy made 50 saves. And
if you're as a goalie, like I played in net before myself, and if you've got nothing in front of you that's helping, you gave up 6 goals, but honestly, he was the only reason why it wasn't double digits.
Yeah, this could have been 16-2.
Yeah.
Legitimately. Like,
if he was having a Mike Smith performance from earlier this season, it probably would have been 12 or 13. And he made a number of really good saves. I'd go back to him. And, it's bad when you're saying that he gave up 6 goals and, he's the guy to, and that's not a slam on Riddick. It's just that Smith has been that good. It's just the rest of the team hasn't shown up yet.
Yeah, it has it. And the defense has looked completely, other than Hamonic and Hanifin, they look pretty confused on how to really deal with Nathan McKinnon. I thought Giordano had his struggles with him. Vandenberg, I mean, they seem to wait until Brody in the first shift until Brody and Vandenberg came out before they put out McKinnon. Once that happened, it felt like then Vandenberg took that penalty. Did you like that penalty? What did you think? I'm not going to complain much about the officiating.
It's one of those things that they were consistent all night in that they were calling everything very strict.
Yeah.
And that's on the Flames for not realizing that and making sure that they're playing disciplined. And if you see that first penalty being called, don't F around at all.
Yeah.
And they did. And Colorado, I think, had 8 power plays in the game. You're not going to win any games if you're giving up that many. Like, that's on them entirely. And sometimes the refs call nothing, and, you have a different style of game. But with all of the chippiness in other series, I think that they're starting to call things a little more tightly, and because there's been too many headshots and the like in other series, and I think that they're trying to crack down on that. And it's just poor adaptation by the Flames themselves for not realizing that, the refs are calling the game a certain way. You have to change how you're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, they do need to make a number of adjustments. I mean, there was the one penalty there that Tkachuk was like, "What about my chin? What about my chin?" And then the next one, the kind of annoyed me was the Backlund double minor, because like you would have needed a microscope to see that there was blood on that guy's lip. And but other than that, I'm not going to complain much.
Not much you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, the defense is feeling overwhelmed, and the forwards are not back-checking effectively enough, I don't think.
No, and I've also noticed that the defensemen are pinching in too far in the offensive zone, and like that led to the breakaway that led to the fourth goal against. And like it's like, for some reason, the entire team just forgot how to play hockey at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like this is like clearly like basic mistakes that like in the first game of the preseason you iron out, and like they're just completely overwhelmed. They're beating themselves, and they just don't have any answers, and it's frustrating because if they just played sound fundamental hockey like they have for the entire season, they wouldn't have these problems. Like Colorado's not a scary team. They have Nathan McKinnon, and okay, yeah, he's a good player, but he's not that good where like he's going to just be so awesome where he wins the series all by himself. Like
he has the ability. He's showing the ability he could, though, if the Flames don't figure out a way to stop this.
Yeah,
which is where it gets concerning.
Well, and that's where they're beating themselves, because they're worried too much about what the other team is doing instead of worrying about what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
And, like they're just, it's like they're reacting on every single play. Instead of dictating the play, they're just like, oh God, McKinnon's out here. What do we do? What do we do?
Yeah.
And, you can't play like that and expect to do anything.
Yeah.
And, like, if you're playing your game your way, McKinnon's not going to get any chances because you're just cycling in their zone all the time and you're just dominating the play. And we saw that at times in Game 1 and in the overtime in Game 3 or 2, where the Flames just controlled the play the entire time. Yeah, McKinnon scored on that, but that was just more bad luck than anything. But the Flames, if they're playing their game their way, they'll just control the play, and then you don't have to worry about what McKinnon's doing because you're just dictating the play, and they're just getting in their own way. And it's frustrating because they should be playing better than this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the frustrating thing is they knew going into this game that they needed to play better, and it didn't come out that way.
No.
So we'll just go through the summary here quickly, and then we'll talk about the next game here. But this was basically all Colorado all the time. And then there was the Cale Makar story, which just added to
salt in the wound.
Salt in the wound. So Nathan McKinnon scores on the two-man advantage from Barrie and Comfer, 8:26. Then McKinnon again. And I don't know how that... So I think they called the too many men on the ice first, and then it was the Fantenberg penalty. I think that's my led to understand there. Then McKinnon, his third straight goal. He almost kind of has an interesting natural hat trick with the third straight goal in the series from Ranson and Landeskog. Then Cale Makar from McKinnon and Kerfoot. Makar's first game. Wins the Hobey Baker. Regular season in college is over. Signs, flies over to Denver, scores in the playoff. Like you can't do much better than that.
He had a good week.
He had a very good week. No question about that. Then Matt Nieto scores his second shorthanded goal in the series from Colin Johnson. It's 4-0. Then Sam Bennett from Anderson and Backlund. And the Flames are kind of at that point. They got a little bit of momentum. They were starting to work back. Then Rantanen scores from Wilson 5-1. Did you expect Rittich in the third period?
No. I was like, it's one of those where if any of the goals were Smith's fault, then I would have expected Riddick to go in.
Yeah.
But when the team is playing that badly, you can't blame Smith at all. He's the only reason why we're not in Tampa Bay's shoes right now.
Yeah, that's true. Really.
And, like, the team has played like crap. Like, this is the worst I've seen them play all season. And there's not much you can do. Like, like, putting Riddick in there sends a message to Smith that, like, oh, it's your fault that we're losing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad, and I think that you run with Smith for the rest of the series.
Yes,
do I. I don't think you need to bring in Riddick there at any point in time. Then you got Johnson.
If Riddick plays, it'll be in the second round if the Flames make it there.
Yeah. Johnson from Cole and Nieto to start the third makes it 6-1. Then Brody from Hanifin and Monahan 6-2 the final score. So Wednesday, do we see some changes here?
They better. I think Valimaki draws in and Brody sits at a very bare minimum. Because he's been exposed. Entirely.
He has been very exposed. It's very bad. Yeah. I mean, it's. I don't know how good Valimaki will be in this situation. But at the same time, I just
you have to throw a different look in because they've picked him apart. They found a weakness. Yeah, you just have to switch him out. It's not ideal, but you have to at this point.
What about Michael Stone or Prout? What are your thoughts on?
Stone and Prout. Prout's
I feel like
Prout's very good.
Prout's too slow for this series, I think.
Yeah, same here. I think it's the same thing with Stone. Stone and Vandenberg I view as basically being more or less equivalent, and where Valimaki has a little more foot speed and could have more of a positive impact than I think Stone would. I think if you put Stone in, he'll be there, and it'll be a very weak third pairing, and I don't see...
Right.
I think that Valimaki is just the better player overall. And yeah, it's a little weird playing someone that young in there, but...
Well, if Cale Makar can do
it... Yeah.
I think it might give a little bit more energy to the team in a sense. But you're right. This isn't. I thought Vandenberg at least battled and tried. Like Brody is becoming quickly a problem. Like I feel like Brody is now the sixth defenseman on this team.
Yeah. Yeah. And 7 more like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that this is the last that we see of TJ Brody in a Flames jersey as well moving forward. But it is what it is, and you just have to make a move. And I'd also throw Zarnik in next game.
And who would you sit?
Neil.
I actually didn't think Neil didn't think Neil was the biggest problem tonight.
No, neither do I. But he's the slowest of the forwards, and that's the only reason why. The Flames need more foot speed because they're getting beat all over the place. And, the only line that's looking at all good is the fourth line currently with Eatbread and Ryan and Hathaway. And their key to them is that they're all fast. And it's just one of those things that the Flames need some more foot speed in order to try to break up the momentum.
Yeah, I can see that. I was kind of wondering about Jankowski too. Because
the problem with Jankowski is that we don't have a center that's ready to go into that spot.
Yeah, that's true. Unless you move Bennett to the center, but he's not been effective as a center.
No, and you could call Dylan Dubé and put him in, but that'd be a little weird. That'd be a little weird.
Yeah, I think you still, because Jankowski's good at penalty killing, so you certainly want to keep him there. So I do see that, and I think Zarnik can provide a bit of a spark a bit of a speed spark for sure that I don't think Neil is necessarily has. And it's not that Neil was terrible. It's just I think you need to make a little bit of a change here for sure.
Yeah.
And if you have this depth, I think the opportunity is there to use it for sure.
Yeah.
It's safe to say, obviously, Game 4 is a must-win. You do not want to come back here or to Calgary. Calgary to down 3-1. I think that just would not work. So I think you have
to put it this way: if Colorado wins Game 4, the series is over, and you're in to pack the bags for the holidays, summer holidays, because it's over.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah. So yeah.
Because even if the Flames came back and won Game 5 at that point, it'd be over in 6.
It'd be over. So. Yeah, I certainly agree. So I think this is a big game. They need to step that up. And maybe in a weird way, Matt, this is a blessing in disguise that it was a blowout. So now it's one of those things where you can kind of sit back and say, okay, we have a stinker. We can throw this away. We just restart all over again and just get back to our game.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if the Flames play their game their way, they win the game. Period.
Yeah.
And they've been overwhelmed by Colorado, and it's so frustrating because Colorado's not a good team.
No, I mean, they've got a good line. They've had a couple of bounces.
They've got good parts, but they're not a good team.
Yeah.
And next season, I don't see them magically surging to the top of the Central Division at all. It's not like a situation like Nashville when they beat Chicago, where they went to the finals, but then the next season they won the President's Trophy.
Yeah.
I don't see that in Colorado at all.
Yeah.
And, it's just frustrating because of the fact that, the Flames should be doing better than this. Yeah. And, on our show, Fireside Chat, we were saying that, the only way the Colorado wins this series is if the Flames beat themselves, and we're down 2-1 in the series because in 2 of the games, the Flames beat themselves.
Yeah. I would agree. So, but I did think that this was to be a 6-game series, so it's now if the Flames win tomorrow, win Wednesday, it is a 6-game series. So we'll see. Anything else we want to touch on here before we end this, or?
Well, the Flames need to show up desperate in Game 4 and play a physical brand of hockey and show that they actually care.
Yeah.
About what they're doing.
Yeah.
And if not, then it'll be over very soon, and then we'll be having a lot of fun conversations on what the heck to do.
Yes. I think there is going to be some interesting off-season conversations, but we'll just leave them over here for now, and we'll just focus on the playoffs now. So Game 4, Wednesday night, 8 o'clock Mountain. We will recap after. Thanks, everyone, for watching on Facebook Live and listening on Spreaker, and we will talk to you all very soon.